The WSU Health Sciences campus wouldn't be what it is today without help from our partners. Welcome to WSU Spokane Connects, where we discuss partnerships that have impact.
Joining me today is MARKRICHARD. Mark has been the Executive Director of Downtown Spokane Partnership for 4.5 years. Prior to that, he served as a Spokane County Commissioner. Well, Mark, we're really pleased that you're with us this afternoon, and the WSU Spokane campus is growing towards downtown. Downtown is growing towards our campus. So tell us a little bit about the mission of Downtown Spokane Partnership.
Yeah, well, first, just thanks for having me, and we're excited to have WSU, of course, in Spokane, in downtown Spokane. So our mission is, and I think so related to really your future of the downtown campus. So our mission is about creating a vibrant, safe, clean, sustainable downtown as a part of a broader healthy economic region. And so a lot of what we do is trying to kind of set the table, if you will, for anybody that wants to enjoy downtown, whether you're living, working, playing, or learning.
Great. And members who live or work in downtown are part of the organization. So maybe a little bit about the structure.
Oh, it's a great point. It's a little complicated. We have kind of two buckets, if you think about it this way. We have what's called a business improvement district, which is essentially a geographically defined area where all of the businesses and the property owners inside that boundary are automatically members by a vote that was taken back in 1995. That geographic boundary ends at Brown Street, so just a couple of blocks away from campus here, and then it goes clear over to Cedar, up on the north bank of the river, and then up to the railroad viaducts. So within that area, again, everybody's kind of a captive audience. And then we have members who are voluntary, including WSU, we're very grateful for that, who are voluntary members of ours, and they essentially, by your own decision, contribute and are a part of our supporting our mission.
Right.
And those could be anywhere.
So there's a lot going on in downtown right now, and DSP is part of most of the activity. So tell me about a project you're particularly excited about.
Well, I think the one that I'm probably most excited about, because I feel like it's probably the most catalytic outside of the U District, which I also get the pleasure of serving with you on that board, is really the park, Riverfront Park Master Plan redevelopment that's going on right now. When it gets done, I think we are the level that it's going to take Spokane in terms of what it provides for folks that are either visiting or again just coming live here is going to be absolutely spectacular. So we've got, the park is just finishing up an ice skating ribbon, which is going to be open this holiday season. A new building for the carousel. They're just now actually taking some feedback from the public if folks want to weigh in on kind of what to do with the pavilion on the north side of the on the island there, and then just a whole host of things, including what I think is going to be really neat is really improving and in the line of sight, and then adding infrastructure in that Howard Street promenade. So if you picture it now from downtown, you really almost physically be able to see up to the arena, and you'll be able to walk along this meandering path with street furniture, but then it'll also have infrastructure so we can do farmers markets and food truck rallies and all kinds of wonderful things in the park without destroying the grass like we do today.
It's pretty exciting. I live in Kendall Yards, so I get to walk through downtown, and the changes that have been going on over the last couple of years have really been fantastic. Now, urban areas have challenges, crime, and they're vulnerable people that are part of our community. Mm-hmm. What has been Downtown Spokane Partnership's philosophy around addressing some of those challenges?
That's a really excellent question. So first, I would tell folks that downtown is safe. When we read in the paper or we see a news clip on social media, what we're catching is that 1/10 of 1%. So I just want to let folks know that. And I would say vast majority of those times, unfortunately, it's a crime between two persons that are often vagrant or homeless or, that are essentially on the streets. It's not very common that you have just kind of a random attack on an innocent, person that's, a professional or student. So I want to start with that. Our focus, Lisa, has really been what I kind of talk about as a three-legged stool. We really work hard to help those that can't help themselves. And this is a real new direction for us that I tried to take in as I came from the county and what we did with criminal justice. So how do we lean into, as a business community, helping those that suffer from mental illness? How do we help provide solutions for folks to be able to have emergency shelter and to have long-term housing so that they can be stable and safe. And then the second leg of the stool is how do we help provide hope and opportunity for those that can take care of themselves but maybe have fallen on hard times. And so we work a lot in terms of education and workforce development and mentoring and those kinds of things, employment. And then the third is, how do we hold people accountable that are capable, are provided with opportunities and just choose to, break the law. And so we work heavily and closely with our police department, other security divisions downtown, and really trying to discern between those groups of people because they aren't all the same. And then address them individually as opposed to, broad brushes that paint people in the wrong light.
So one of the things we're pretty excited about as a campus that has new students coming on board, medical students that will grow, is the whole concept of urban housing. So what are the prospects for more housing downtown and that kind of 24/7 livability?
Well, the prospects are amazing. Just recently, as you know, last year a new housing project was opened up on North Division, 940 North, which is just a phenomenal, really university-based housing project that serves both WSU Eastern and Gonzaga. What we're seeing right now is what we know today in terms of what is either committed and or being planned is over 500 units of new housing that are coming into downtown. That, of course, includes your neighborhood in Kendall Yards, which is just really doing wonderful things. But it includes properties like the the old Macy's building, the Rid Path, the Chronicle building, and then a whole host of others that are coming along line. And that doesn't count the story we just read the other day about Larry Stone with SCAFCO looking at another 120-unit housing project on the north bank of the river, along with another interesting kind of a hotel model. So the housing, I think, for the student and or the faculty or the researcher is really coming along nicely. The vacancy in downtown, not unlike most areas, is incredibly low. So in the 1 to 2% vacancy rate, so essentially turnover. We have waiting lists, and that just tells us a lot. People are really just finding downtown to be a special place right now and wanting to move into downtown. And so I think we're going to see some projects that are going to embrace them at all price points.
So connecting downtown and our campus is that West Main area, and some interesting changes have been happening there. Tell us a little bit about what the thinking was to change the parking alignment and what the focus is for pedestrians, bikers, et cetera.
Sure. So what you're referring to is Main Street, essentially that kind of is the connector between the U District campus and downtown. And so last year we worked with that neighborhood to try a pilot project. And what we did was really just kind of narrow the street down to 2 lanes and then put a center street angle parking in that block, which I think it makes people scratch their head enough. It really works because what happens is you slow down, you take the time, you're looking around, and what we're finding is more people are stopping and shopping and engaging in the bar scene in that area. So what we're trying to do is really create something special, something with a little bit more texture than just asphalt and concrete. With some landscaping and some angles and things. And then we just completed a kind of a joint project with a handful of stakeholders that will look to the future about what does that street really become in the future. And that really will include kind of creating permanency for the bike lanes that we created in that area, connecting those bike lanes on through downtown, even clear over to Brown's Addition. And at the same time, again, making more permanent perhaps this kind of narrowing and kind of a neighborhood feel in that area where you'd really feel like you might want to live. The other thing that I would say that, as I mentioned to you offline, isn't really kind of sexy, but I think it's really important for our students to know, the U District, the City of Spokane, we're committed to how do we connect our University District with the downtown. And so one of the projects that folks might not be aware of what's going on right now is right along Division, essentially from the freeway on down to campus. You're seeing some streets tore up, and what's happening is we're going to see some ADA, some bump outs. So the city is going to essentially narrow that gap along Division because it's a pretty wide street, create a safer environment for people to cross back and forth from downtown, ADA accessible, and then it'll also be complete with some landscaping and some new tree lighting. So it's just really going to be a nice, fun entrance to the UD campus.
Right, so it'll be more comfortable for people to move across that major corridor
Right,
of
exactly.
Division and Brown and onto the WSU Spokane campus.
Yeah.
Anything else going on? Retail is a little challenged with people moving online.
Right.
How is that affecting our downtown? Or will we see new retailers? What's happening there?
Yeah, I think if you read, and if you read the publications, you'll see that again the kind of the urban mega retail campus model is a kind of a thing of the past, especially like you said with online purchasing. I would say, however, I think Spokane is kind of bucking that trend, and I think one of the things again exciting for the WSU Spokane campus is what we're seeing is a growth in terms of the depth of retail opportunities, which we believe is important to, again, not only your faculty and folks that are coming in for research, but your students. So we're seeing a host of, for instance, like the Urban Outfitters and the Anthropology are kind of two newer stores that really are starting to serve the younger population, which I think is really fabulous. I think we're going to continue to see that growth in the retail. I think within the next month or two, we're going to hear a pretty significant announcement of an anchor tenant in the new M or the old Macy's building that's going to be serving that main floor.
All right, stay tuned for that. Well, I just want to say I've really enjoyed serving on the board of the DSP and getting to know the other business owners and community participants in downtown. And I really appreciate the support for the arts. That's been fantastic. I think having that whole creative enterprise downtown with music and art and supporting the vacant spaces with window dressing and things like that has really activated vacant spaces, but also given us a connection with the younger students and the creative class in Spokane. So I just wanted to thank you for your leadership and for that innovative thinking. I think it's been great, and love the partnership between the campus and the downtown.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, and just if I could close, just encourage people to check out our website, downtownspokane.net. Not only you'll see a whole host of events, but you'll see kind of our upcoming priorities. One of those is certainly art and culture. So how do we embrace the entertainment and the cultural opportunities we have, and how do we continue to grow those? That can be, that's in the eye of the beholder, everything from art shows to food truck rallies to music venues. Like we've got Bazaar coming up here shortly. That's just a fabulous event put on by Terrain. We'd love to support those things, but what I would tell the folks that might be listening is we're always open for new ideas. We welcome that spark of creativity. And so if you have been sitting on an idea and you're out there watching and you think, I wish Spokane would have that, reach out to us. We'd love to talk with you and see if we can't get that spinning.
Great. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
I have never met such a visionary, effective, passionate professional as Elson Floyd. He has the ability somehow to channel vision and passion to execution.
I have never seen him back away from a great idea. He was the first person who said, we should do $1 billion.
He never had a doubt.
This legislation authorizes Washington State University to offer and teach medicine. And
he was always there to say, we'll get there. This is the right thing to do. Let's just work our way through it.
He had the gift of making our dreams seem possible and turning our aspirations into reality.
There are now young people who have opportunities that they would have never had before if it hadn't been for Elson Floyd's leadership. What he did changed lives.
Together, Washingtonians are inspired and will carry on his legacy.
We are extremely thankful for the visionary leadership of Dr. Elson Floyd. He has become the voice for higher education in our state.
Joining me today is Lars Gilberts. He is the new executive director of the University District. Lars, welcome back to Washington State, because I understand You grew up here in the Spokane area.
I did.
So welcome back, and congratulations on your position with the University District. I've had the privilege of being a board member in the University District since I've been here at WSU Spokane over the last 4 years. Pretty excited about both the organization and what the district means for our community. So why don't you tell us a little bit about why you wanted to take this position on?
Absolutely. So yeah, for the last 13 years, I've been working away from the area and trying to get back. And thankfully, it seems like the skill sets I've been developing are coming in at just the right time. And the University District is also kind of hitting its stride as well, that WSU has done some phenomenal investments in the area here. And just overall, the University District, we're kind of the owners of how do we build up this district to make it a vibrant place for the whole community, for the students, for the educational institutions, the businesses, you name it. But we want to make this place that everyone wants to live, learn, work, and play in it. And so that's a pretty all-encompassing mandate, and it brings in a lot of people from around the community and even around the country, including myself. And so I'm excited to jump into that right now.
Great. Well, some people, if they hear U District, might think Seattle, but this is Spokane's University District.
Yeah.
So for those who may be unfamiliar, we're talking about, 700 acres, and we're located right near downtown, the Gonzaga campus, WSU Spokane and EWU Spokane, and across the tracks. And tell me about that composition of the district and why it's important.
Absolutely. So, we have a strong heritage and history here, and thankfully we have had people that have been looking at this area just east of downtown for a long time and seen its potential, but really not known how to tap that fully. And so as people have come together over the decades really to make this possible, they've considered how do we make economic viability of this area and create new opportunity for everybody. And so for us, as we're kind of taking that on, the district looks at everything from Mission on down to I-90 and really even a little bit across it and over to kind of the East Sprague area, over to even Division and Brown. And while there is a kind of a specific boundary that we do focus on, one thing that we're trying to do more of is look beyond that. We see some amazing things happening here with medical schools, with the health sciences in this area, but how are we planning to connect in with the downtown, with the medical campuses? And if we only care about our acreage, we're not really making a stronger, better Spokane. So yes, we are starting in this area, and there's kind of 3 distinct areas. Oftentimes people think of the River Point campus as the University District, and it's so much more than that. When you mentioned Gonzaga, obviously they've been here for over 100 years, and there's established neighborhoods in Logan, and that goes through the River Point area here that still has some development that's happened, but a lot more to go. And then south of the railroad tracks that's now being connected with a pedestrian and bike bridge, that there's so much opportunity there. There's existing businesses that have that opportunity now to grow, to serve new clientele. There's roads that are being constructed that will better connect this area to the rest of the community. So we just see a lot of potential, and we want to make sure that no one gets left behind.
So after almost a decade of working on some of the infrastructure projects, it seems like it's all coming together. So we have an extension of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and the bridge. Tell us a little bit about the significance of the Gateway Bridge.
Absolutely. So actually, I just moved to the Perry District, and so for me personally, people love to brag about what's happening in the Perry District, but if I want to take the Benbur Trail and connect into town, I have to go along Division or some other places that really aren't that safe, quite honestly, for me right now, and those are improving. But once that's done, I'll be 1.5 miles from home to work. I'll be able to connect when there's events here on campus, when there's festivals, when there's Hoop Fest, all these different types of things. I'll have a safe way to be able to access that. Additionally, there's limited space here, as you very well know, here on the campus. So as we kind of start to realize our potential, and Vision 2030 is one of the ways that we're looking to realize some potential in the health sciences area here. We need space to grow. And who wants to just jump in their car to drive, a 1/2 mile, if they could just be able to walk there, especially in good weather? So it allows for more innovation. It allows for an area to grow and not be as constrained. And it allows for businesses that have been focusing on one type of business to be able to open up the different clients they serve. We've got thousands of students here and more coming as we have researchers, as we have businesses that are serving that. Where are they going to go for lunch? And rather than just being driven one way, what are the opportunities on the south side? And so we've identified some of those opportunities, but in the end, it's our business leaders, it's the consumers, it's the students, it's the community that will really be able to leverage that opportunity to new possibilities that we haven't even considered yet.
So the university district is made up of a board of elected officials, the mayor and city council president, university presidents and chancellors, community leaders, and people who have an interest in the district. Tell us a little bit about the economic development tool that the university district Public Development Authority has at its disposal to help with creating this vision.
Absolutely, and so it's a great point there. So the university district as an organization kind of has two components. One of it is a nonprofit, and we are free to be as creative as we possibly can to create opportunities for students, for community members, for businesses, for educators. On the Public Development Authority side, there is a very clear mandate about how do we build the infrastructure. That this is an area that was originally pretty industrial in large part. And so as it serves more students, more residents, et cetera, is there the infrastructure? Is it a place that people want to be? Does it have the facilities? Is it the safety even? And so those are some of the things that we're looking at. The bridge is one of the things that we've invested in, some of the design work around division to make that a safer, more welcoming place. These are some of the things we've looked at, but beyond that, from the north to the south, what are the things that are going to bring in new businesses? What are the things going to make a safer place that people want to spend time and obviously money in that then spurs the economy? And so we've actually, we are engaging the community. We've done it pretty well over the last decade, and we've got stakeholder engagement forums because while we've got a lot of clear mandates about what to focus on, there's new opportunities coming up all the time. So we've just started off a stakeholder engagement forum. We're going to be having another one in July and into the future, and we're trying to help get input from people about where to invest those dollars, where they're going to make the biggest impact on the infrastructure, and where through partnering and through programming, the nonprofit can have the biggest impact.
Great. Well, I know there's a very active East Sprague Business Association, and that the city is putting investments in that corridor to make it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly and a more attractive retail environment. But what else, if you look forward, maybe 10 years, the bridge is open. What do you see on that Sprague corridor? Do you see more housing, health science research? What's your vision of that, just maybe 10 years from now?
Well, 10 years from now, I think that's going to be huge. I think there's things that so the short version is, I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. Two things I would kind of point to, though, is communities that aren't connected aren't nearly as vibrant as they could be. And so I'd say just north of the tracks there, when you look around the river bend, we've got these kind of blocks of development that aren't yet connected. 10 years from now, those are going to be developed. And so people that are in the Iron Bridge area there, right now, where do they go for lunch? They've got great trails and everything else, but there's nothing that's nearby. Some of the Riverbend project's going to bring some of that in. And so similarly, when we look on the Sprague corridor, we see things separated out, that people aren't comfortable to just walk and move between those communities. And so I definitely see them more connected. Now, 10 years from now, construction's always a guaranteed. What's going to happen with I-90? Are they going to look at expanding some of the feeder roads? Will Sprague still be a two-lane both ways, or will it be more of a pedestrian area? That's something that's a little bit beyond my knowledge. But one way or the other, it's definitely going to be a place for innovation as we see ideas spill over quite literally from the university district. Academic centers, they need places to grow. And that south side towards the medical district is going to be an amazing place for them to grow. But for the patients, for the researchers, for everybody else, what do they need? And I think that's what's going to drive it. As businesses respond to those opportunities, they're going to drive what's going to be happening there. But something that when we looked at the area, you talked about the East Sprague Business Association, and they actually just rebranded. So now the East Spokane Business Association, and we're working with them to say, how do we make this a coherent corridor so that they're not just focusing on their needs and us and our needs, but how do we make this a community? And so we've just started some of those conversations, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next year or two, let alone 10 years.
Well, I know you're relatively new to this position, but we, WSU, Spokane, ITRON, the city, Avista are also part of this partnership that is a smart cities project that we call Urbanova. So I'm pretty excited about what that means, but a lot of people may not be familiar with smart cities, smart campus kinds of terminology. How would you explain what we are doing in the Urbanova project?
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that most excited me about coming back, quite honestly, because Urbanova, it's a living lab. And so what does it mean to be a smarter community and a university district that's not just helping people learn, but communities learn? I think we all kind of know that. Why do we bake and cook in the kitchen? Because we have all equipment that we need to be able to create something that's good for our family, that's nutritious, that's healthy, all that type of stuff, and contain the mess. When we want to learn, we need some of those same laboratories. But where can we learn about how to use energy and water better, how to make a safer community, how to make a smarter community? And that's a question that's really plagued communities, large businesses, et cetera. And Urbanova is a place where we can test out new ideas. How do we make cleaner air? How do we make safer streets? How do we use energy better? How do we fill in the blank? There's so many other things that are possible. And so I think that's part of what Urbanova is, but it's not just this big concept of, I don't think people realize how many billion-dollar companies that we have here in Spokane. Are we creating, are we helping them solve their global problems, the things that create new revenues, new jobs for us locally, and keep them locally invested? That's great, but what about local businesses? How do we help keep their energy costs low? As we have more development, and think this year we don't have a drought, but in the future, if we have water issues, how do we use our resources better? And in Urbanova, we can start figuring some of those things out that help local businesses, local communities, and not just even Spokane, but the county, the region, the country.
What do you see as the challenges of the university district or the board? What's the looming problem that we need to take on, or some of the obstacles we face?
So I think anybody that's been connected to the community long enough can remember as there's macroeconomic variables that change. So if you look at how aluminum is made, where timber is coming from, it has a major impact on this community. And I think having this academic center here is really going to help us out, but that doesn't protect us. And so when we look at the future, that right now we have a vision for this community that by 2030, there's going to be $1.7 billion more that's going to be produced in the health science area, over 9,000 jobs that we aren't experiencing now. That's phenomenal. But that's just one component. And it's not something that just WSU can do alone or we can do alone. It takes everybody really investing and being part of that. But that's just one sector. We can't rely just on one sector. And so in the future, we're not just competing with Salt Lake and Boise and east of the west of the Cascades. We need to be looking at, we're competing globally. And so as a community, how are we all invested? And this is a place we're welcoming people into this area. What are the problems that your businesses have? We have phenomenally smart students that are invested, that want to have opportunities here. We have faculty that have inventions and idea and problem solving and tools that can be applied to local needs and challenges and opportunities. And so we want businesses, we want community members to bring their ideas, their problems to the area. And so I think the biggest challenge is, if we don't all take advantage of this opportunity, we're not going to make the most of it. And so by 2030, have we realized our potential, or are we finding that China, Southeast Asia, Africa, we don't even think about Africa, but that continent, many countries and companies are developing so rapidly there. Are we an afterthought, or are we part of the thought leaders? Because in the end, that's not just our place in the world, it's jobs, it's people's lives locally. And so we're investing in this to make sure that we are competitive, that people have opportunities here, that kids don't grow up, go through the schools, and move away, but they continue to stay here and have opportunities here.
That sounds great. Well, it's an exciting vision, You are an enthusiastic, energetic advocate for it. We're very lucky to have you, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in. Please join us next time as we connect with you, our partners.